Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining me on the Slice of Healthcare podcast. I'm your host, Jared Taylor. Joining me today is the president at Dario Health, Rick Anderson. Rick, how are you today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Jared.
Really excited to have you on. Had the opportunity to have your chief medical officer on the podcast a while back, and also spoke with or had the opportunity to listen to him and Alex over at Sanofi speak at the DTX East conference in Boston last fall, which was really, really cool. Um, but would love if we could kick things off, Rick, by hearing a little bit about your background, and then we'll dive into Dario Health.
Yeah, no, happy to. I started my career actually in the finance side of the world, and then through mergers and acquisitions and a number of other things, and ultimately landed in healthcare. Spent a little bit more than 10 years before coming to Dario Health, growing a company that was looking at chronic conditions through a behavioral health lens, with an understanding that if you can address behavioral health, you can actually reduce the clinical burden and the cost burden associated with chronic conditions. And then I joined Dario just a little over 3 years ago, right before the pandemic started. Was really attracted to their ability to address on a personalized basis at scale, largely using digital around chronic conditions.
And how have things evolved? We'll kind of lead this in to an overview of the company for those that, there's probably not that many people that aren't aware of what you do at this point, but how did things evolve since you started there? And then kind of take us from there to an overview of the company today.
Yeah, so when I joined the company, and for several years before that, company's been around for 9 years or so. So for the first 6 years, the company was focused on direct to consumer, and really started out in diabetes, and then organically expanded into hypertension and weight management as part of the overall solution. And one of the really interesting, I think, unique things about Dario is that it used members, direct to consumer, to understand what did they respond to, collect data associated with that, and really build a personalized experience that's different than most digital health companies. Most digital health companies come at the world from the perspective of how do we change buyer behavior, so health plans and self-insured employers, rather than how do we really focus on a direct to consumer focus first. And that's one of the things that I thought was very attractive. Also been able to generate a bunch of data at that point, and had published studies around the outcomes associated with that. And then after I joined in 2020, my real mandate was to help the company move into what we would call the B2B space, so selling to health plans and self-insured employers. We then did three acquisitions in 2021 to acquire two musculoskeletal companies. So, and then really used that to evolve those solutions into a digital version of physical therapy, and then also acquired a behavioral health company. And then we took all of those solutions and integrated them together on a series of different levels. But the easiest way to think about it is one unified experience for members, because one of the things that's important is that a lot of the folks that we're helping have multiple conditions, and they don't want to have different modules. They don't want to have different solutions. They want to have one solution that they can use, when they want to focus on their diabetes, or if they want to focus on, anxiety, or they want to focus on hypertension. They can do all of that within one platform. So that's been very important to us, and really what we've been getting a lot of traction with lately. So, Dario is a chronic condition management platform. We still have a direct to consumer DNA associated with that. So, really what we're focused on is how do we help people manage their conditions? And, when you think about chronic conditions, it's not what happens at the doctor's visit. It's what happens between the doctor's visits. So, if I have diabetes or hypertension, I'm probably seeing my provider, once a quarter, once a month at the most. And, how do I help manage my own conditions between those? And Dario has developed a highly personalized platform that is utilizing the data and how people interact with the platform to give essentially an infinite number of user journeys, rather than have one or 10 or 1,000 user journeys, and starting people in one place and that's the journey they get. We adapt that so that it's really, the idea is providing value to people over a period of time. And if you can provide value, you can retain them on the platform. You retain them on the platform, you can help them change their behaviors. And at the end of the day, that's what drives clinical outcomes. And we see, 80% retention on the platform at a year, which is kind of unheard of in a lot of ways. And I really credit that to, what the team did in terms of personalizing that experience.
It's been really interesting to kind of follow Dario the last couple of years. And in particular, one thing that really got me excited was the partnership that you put together with Sanofi. Can you talk us through that partnership through the Dario Health Lens? We've talked with Sanofi about it in the past. Like I told you, I've had the opportunity to be at some events and hear, your two teams talk about that. But I know our audience would love to hear more about that. How it's going, and then maybe you could sprinkle in, what have some of the outcomes been thus far as a result of that relationship.
Yeah, no, happy to. I mean, I think that I give Sanofi a lot of credit for the way that they came at the partnership. If you look at most of the scenarios that you see in most of the partnerships that you see in the digital health and pharmaceutical space, it's almost always somebody trying to partner a medication with a digital app for a variety of reasons, medication adherence, getting data, whatever the case may be. And they took a much more strategic approach, which was really attractive to us, which was, hey, we think that the digital health market is worth billions of dollars at some point in the future, and we want to understand and we want to play in this marketplace. And they have experience in it. They have investments in other companies. They've participated in other things. But they came with a series of things that I think were important. So there's basically three components to that deal, and part of it is co-promotion of the Dario solution to their health plan customers through their market access team. So from a Dario perspective, obviously that increased our sales capability dramatically right off the bat. 5 times my sales capability in terms of getting in front of health plans. The second part of it was really developing things on top of the platform. So they had some ideas, some really interesting ideas. They wanted to partner with somebody who had a platform, who had a behavior change platform, who had engagement, who had members on the platform, so they could see how those ideas performed. And we finished the first set for 2022 of development projects that we had, and there's some interesting things in there. And right now they're in testing in our B2C population, and we'll look at how we roll that out into the B2B population here in the coming quarters. And the last piece, and I think that this is maybe one of the more important pieces when we talk about health plans, is they brought their real world evidence team to the relationship. And so they basically have taken our data, understood who the members are through a third party. They've been able to do some pretty sophisticated studies around what those outcomes are, and we're expecting to see a couple of those studies results come out and be published sometime this year, probably sometime around the middle of the year. We're hoping at least. You never can tell for sure how that evolves, and we think that those will be interesting to really have a look at how people are performing on top of the platform. We have 37 other studies showing clinical outcomes, but this will be the first time we have a third party actually coming with those studies. And I would say, on an overall basis, we had high expectations for the partnership, and I think that we've exceeded those expectations, both in terms of the co-promotion and the relationship that we have with Sanofi. And we're looking forward to hopefully having many more years of this and even potentially expanding it in the future.
Yeah, I mean, looking at it from, the outside in, it really seemed like these partnerships are not always great, right? It seems like both of your teams have done a really great job in putting together a successful partnership that's continued to evolve, which is really exciting to see. It goes to show you, what you can do when you execute a partnership properly. So kudos to you and the Sanofi team and your team. What's next, Rick, that you're really excited about that you can share? I know there's certain things that you're not allowed to share, just given the status of the company, but would love to hear what you're willing to share, what you can share.
Well, I mean, we're looking forward to continued growth. I think, we just put out a press release this week that talking about what happened with our fourth quarter in terms of, demonstrating the growth that we've seen of the B2B business. If you look at our B2C and our B2B business, we've intentionally managed down the B2C business to some extent. And, really, we've done that as we've seen the success of the B2B business start to take off. So, we're really excited about this year. We've generated a bunch of evidence around what we're doing. taking that into the employers and health plans, I think is going to be, make this a fun year in order to be able to be out there and talking about the solution. I think that, partners like Sanofi, some of our other partnerships that we have, we're really looking to leverage that, because what we're seeing in the marketplace is that, people are looking for less vendors to cover more conditions, and our ability to be able to do that and do that in an integrated fashion has been getting nice traction in the marketplace. And the other thing is really leveraging partners to make it easy on our customers to be able to access those Dario solutions. And we look at it as, it's the digital health market is a big and really early industry with a lot of opportunity to help people. And we think that, we can get integrated into a lot of different ecosystems and have lots of different types of partners, including some that, folks may view as competitive to us. We actually view it as, being able to provide the right solution, a direct to consumer kind of focus, and making healthcare more consumer centric is, what we need to do to improve healthcare. And we're excited about moving that forward.
Well, I'm really excited to see how that continues to evolve, and hopefully we can have you come back on, maybe even with the Sanofi team too, to talk more about that partnership, and then also hear more about these outcomes, which are super exciting. Rick, I want to thank you once again for joining me on the Slice of Healthcare podcast, and can't wait to have you on again soon.
Well, great. Thanks for having me, Jared.